The Michael Berry Show.
I will use the name John Doe, although we did verify that this is a real person. I was diagnosed with stomach cancer at MD Anderson in Houston. They recommended chemotherapy and radiation. I saw firsthand what that poison did to my family members. I have received more messages from people who have told me that chemotherapy killed their loved one. Cancer didn't. I'm not an expert on the subject. I'm not sure how many doctors are, to be honest. But it sure does seem to be something that is a common denominator of commentary on the subject, that chemotherapy did not help, it hurt. Anyway, this fellow continues. So someone recommended RSO, Rick Simpson oil. The problem with that is it has to be made with 30% THC indica strain, which is illegal in the state of Texas. I'm not a pot smoker by any means. I have not even tried cannabis till 3 years ago when I received my diagnosis. So I had to make it myself and followed the treatment schedule. In 4 months, my tumor had shrunk to 1/6 of its size. I don't believe that pot should be legalized. I'm already a part of TCUP. That's the compassionate use program, the medical marijuana. Texas has only 0.3%. It needs to be raised. How can the Texas legislature limit the amount of THC in medical cannabis? It should be determined between the doctor and the patient. I'm sad to say that my Republican Party was also trying to ban it. I have all my scans and medical records. Just wanted to get my story out there to legislators since I have firsthand knowledge. Can you help me? Well, we'll refer to him as John Doe. Welcome to the program, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me first of all about your diagnosis. How did you come to find out that you had stomach cancer?
I had already had problems with my stomach 7 years before the diagnosis. I was diagnosed with gastroparesis. It makes you, when you eat, your nerve in your stomach that pushes the food into your colon was dead, and so it sits in your stomach, and you throw up 8 to 13 times a day. And I carried that for 7 years at that point. And so I went to hundreds of doctors, and they didn't know what to do. They just said had an upset stomach. And I got hooked up with a doctor that specializes in it, Dr. Quigley in Houston Methodist. And he did a surgery where you go in your stomach and you shoot that nerve with Botox. And it worked. It worked for about 4 years. And then I ended up with a feeding tube because it came back. And so doing a routine checkup on it is where they found it. And they referred me to MD Anderson. So when I went to them, they found it right off the bat with scans and stuff. But more importantly, so one of the things, the recommendations coming out of them was chemo and radiation. And I have a cousin that had colon cancer, and they removed his stomach, his bladder, and everything because it metastasized. And he started doing this treatment along with the radiation and chemo. And today, so it went on for about 5 months, him taking the RSO and doing the chemo and radiation. And when he was finished, he still had some cancer cells, and it had come to his lungs. But the doctors were just astounded because he had it went from colon to other parts of his body. And so he stayed on the RSO treatment, and he was on it for about 8 months. And right now, he's in remission. So when I got my diagnosis, I chose a different way. I didn't want that stuff in my body because I seen it doing with my mom and other loved ones, and I thought it was worse for them than the actual cancer. And so that's why a friend of mine told me about RSO. And so I got on YouTube, I got on everything, searched it on the computer, bought books about it, everything, researched it. And what I found was if you tried to buy it in California, Denver, different places, it gets stopped. You don't get it whenever they can't sell it to you with a Texas address. So I learned how to make it. And I don't know if y'all wanted me to go into how you make it, but basically what you do is you take...
I do. Hold on. Ramon, can you bring him up? I can barely hear him. Are you speaking right into the phone? No Bluetooth, no speakerphone? Because I can hardly hear you. Okay, Ramon, could you bring up that part?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Talk as loud as you can. Go ahead. Tell me how you make it.
Yes, sir. You take your bud, and you take, say, 2 ounces of bud. You put it in a grinder, electric grinder, or your some people use their, I can't remember what the name is, but you basically grind it down, and you put it in a glass jar, and you cover that glass jar to about an inch and a half. About an inch over where your bud level is. So you got a top part of liquid above it. You then take it and put it over a fire bath with hot with water in it.
Hold on just a second.
This is
Sylvester Turner, the mayor, and a human being. Voila.
Michael Betty Show.
So he is diagnosed with a stomach cancer. We're calling him John Doe. John, can you go back? Okay, Ramon wants us to call him Juan Doe. He's okay. All right, whatever. You're distracting me, Juan. I want to go back to that stomach cancer because I never heard of this. You know, I understand the concept of peristalsis, which you can lay prone and eat or drink something, and your body will push it down, even though gravity's not assisting. But I have never heard of this condition. You said the food would sit in your stomach and it would not continue down. What exactly is the mechanism that is supposed to keep plunging that thing further in that wasn't working?
It's the nerve on the bottom of your stomach. And the disease is called gastroparesis.
Okay.
And so that nerve is responsible for pushing the food after it leaves the stomach into your colon. And that nerve was damaged. I'm diabetic, and that nerve was not working no more. And so they they went through my mouth, went to it, and that nerve they would shoot up with Botox, and it would make it start working. The first one they did, it worked for about 5 years, and it was only supposed to work for 6 months. I was supposed to have that procedure every 6 months, but the first one worked for five years. And at the 5 years, I started getting sick again really bad, and I dropped down. I'm a 230-pound guy, and I was when they put me in the hospital, I was down to 142.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. My mom and dad had to when they released me, they had to carry me to the bathroom and stuff. And
how old were you at this time?
That's kind of killing. Oh, I was 40, 42, 44.
Were you married?
When that happened. I had a long-term, 10-year relationship with someone I'm still with today. I know everybody's probably saying y'all need to get married, and what are you waiting for?
No, everybody's thinking you're gay.
Oh no, far from it.
Well, how come she's not there when your stomach's all tore up?
Oh, she was. She was there. She was in the hospital with me and stuff like that.
Okay, so I know this isn't the thrust of your point. You want to get to the treatment, but I want to understand, why were you losing weight? So when this food, so were you in? So basically, you were bulimic, right? Because the only way to disgorge this food, since you couldn't pass it through your tract, is to puke it back up.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't,
yes, sir.
you couldn't get anything absorbed into your system nutrient-wise. And I suppose you probably felt like, I hate the word GERD, but that's what they call it. You probably had a pretty nasty case of acid reflux.
Yes, sir. Real bad. Whenever it would start during the day, say I would try to eat an egg or something like that. I would throw it up at 8 o'clock in the morning. By 9:30, I'm throwing it up, and I don't eat anything else the rest of the day because I'm still. And about the last 4 or 5 times in a day that I would throw up, it was pure acid. It would burn your lips.
Yeah. That's. I knew somebody that was bulimic many years ago, and she was friends with my wife and I, and we learned a lot about that as she was going through trying to deal with that, and it destroys your teeth. I mean, it could cause esophageal cancer. Those what are they called that come up and burn your stomach acids are. Wow, they can dissolve a razor blade, I think, in 7 years. You don't want that coming back up. It's not meant to. You got to have a backflow preventer. All right, so you start this treatment,
and I've already spent $20,000 getting my teeth redone
because of it.
Yes, sir.
Have mercy. Okay, all right, and I'm sorry. What do you do for a living?
I work for a refinery for the last 28 years.
Okay. And were they pretty good with you while you're going through all this?
Well, it kind of got bad at the end before I went in the hospital the last time for that. They were understanding stuff like, and when I'd have salesmen from contractors and stuff come and see me, one of them that used to work for me, he was sitting in my office and I was talking to him, and I could get my trash can out fast enough, and I ended up throwing up on the desk and partially his clothes. And that was the end. I took a 6-month leave of short-term disability, and that time I was in the hospital for 5 months because of the weight loss, me not getting, I was malnutrition, the whole 9 yards. And so, and then I went back to work after I got out of the hospital, after a month of being in the out of the hospital. And so, and now I got a feeding tube. So what is happening is with a feeding tube, I can drain the acid off my stomach on one line. One line goes to my colon where the bags of nutrition goes straight to my colon, bypasses my stomach.
Okay, so then how did you get into the THC treatment and you start making that? Walk me through that.
Okay, I didn't do it for the gastroparesis. At this point, at that point, I had that tube in, so I wasn't throwing up. I wasn't doing anything. But on a routine visit for them to look at my stomach and stuff like that, they found it. And it wasn't inside of my stomach. It was on the outside. And that scan picked it up. And so they closed it.
All right, hold on just a second. I don't care if somebody disrespects you. You can't shoot them.
The Michael Berry Show.
Your ghetto pass has been revoked.
Our guest had a horrible stomach cancer. It made life almost impossible to live. And then he found a treatment that involved THC. So, John, why don't you take it away on that treatment and how it helped you?
Yes, sir. I was taking RSO, Rick Simpson.
Sorry. Okay.
And
Juan. Ramon is in my ear and he's irritating me. Go ahead, Juan.
I was taking the RSO treatment, and it's what the dosage is a grain of rice 3 times a day in your mouth. And I took that for 3.5 months. When I went back to MD Anderson, they scanned me again, and that tumor had shrunk to 1/6 the size that it was in 3.5 months of doing that treatment. And I continued that treatment. They scheduled me for surgery to take it out, and they did. And I still maintained that schedule, that RSO schedule, for 2.5 months after that. And so I'd taken a short-term disability. That way I wouldn't be getting drug tested and stuff like that at work. And it worked. I mean, it after they turned it off, pulled it out, I didn't have any other signs. My blood work was come back good after at the end of that 6 months and stuff. And when I went to MD Anderson, the third time, they asked me, "What are you taking?" And I tried to tell them, and they was like, "No, there's no way." And they argued with me. And the doctor said, "Well, we can't recommend that." And I was thinking in my head, yeah, because Big Pharma's paying you for all the prescription and drug cancer treatments y'all do. So it worked for me, and I'm still cancer-free. And I just hate the fact that Dan Patrick is sitting up in Austin trying to ban this stuff. And I talked to my state senator, Robert Nichols, and they blew me off.
Mm-hmm. They don't want to hear it.
And then I tried to call my house. Sir?
They don't want to hear it.
No, they don't. And then I went to my representative, which covers Chambers County and Galveston County. And they didn't want to hear it. They both voted to ban it.
Yep.
And so I'm sitting here thinking, that's a constitutional violation. I'm trying to pursue a life, and you're taking that away from me.
Here is the thing. This is a very, very complex, difficult issue. So much of public policy is good versus evil. Bad guys that are like rabid animals that prey on people, and then they finally get caught bashing somebody's head in. Do we send them away forever? Do we send them away for a long time? Or Soros, do we release them back out on the streets? These aren't complicated. They're pretty easy. We can deal with these pretty easily. But THC and an evolving understanding of how it can help some people, just like most every other thing, there is the capacity to abuse this drug. There's no doubt about that. Just as there is with alcohol, or for that matter, cough syrup, or hairspray, or food, or fill in the blank. These individuals do not want to hear this because they don't want to have to grapple with difficult subjects. They want to make their position. They want to take their position. They want to make their statement. They want to shoehorn their position into how they're patriotic and good and not evil and strong and smart and American. And then you got a lot of people out here, including veterans, for whom this is the only thing that has given them any relief, begging, please don't take this away. Pain is a horrible thing. Suffering is a horrible thing. If you could find a way to give someone a palliative response solution to pain and suffering, why wouldn't you? And the idea that you could turn your back on that. This is that dumbass Lubbock Republican State Senator Charles Perry, who Dan Patrick put in charge of this. So Rosie O'Donnell gives him the call. I'm again it. I'm again it. He's asked, if this was the 1930s, would you be for prohibition? And he says, I probably would, knowing what I do today, because alcohol's bad. Prohibition is one of the stupidest positions, public policy positions this country has ever taken. And it cost this country dearly. And this dumbass, in the name of supposedly being concerned, see, this is why we lose elections. We're not gaining any voters. Let me be clear on this. We're not gaining any voters from Dan Patrick's position on this. It's just a question of how many we lose. But all I hear every day, I don't hear anybody going, I love this band, this is great. All I hear is, I won't vote for Republicans after this. Dan Patrick is an idiot. Dan Patrick is making a stupid move. And he put Charles Perry in charge, and like a dog that he's told to go over here and sit. That's what Charles Perry's doing. I don't have time to play the clip in this segment, but I will in the next one. He has asked, and you'll hear him say it, if this was the 1930s, would you be a prohibitionist? I probably would, knowing what I do now. We got too many people dying from regulated products. Well, first of all, not one person is dying from marijuana. Not one. That is a medical fact. That is a scientific fact. Not one. Not a few. Not a couple dozen. Not such a minimal amount that we don't need to. Not one. We don't need Republicans who could fit in Iran. We don't need Republicans clucking that everybody else is debauched. Y'all over there having a drink before noon on Sunday, we're going to put in the blue law. Y'all ought not be out after 9 o'clock. Ain't nothing good to come of it. And y'all ought not be eat up with that dope over there. And then you find, and you ought not be running around. You find out that guys like this, every time, you find out that guys like this are hiding so many things. And then when they're busted, boy, they want the forgiveness.